you might remember a few days ago that the Labour Party saw fit to publish this reform adjacent poster using that lovely reform blue to show how tough they were being on immigration. You see, we're just like them, and they're right about everything to do with immigration, but please vote for us instead. What a brilliant strategy. Flawless. Thanks, Labour. Absolutely fantastic. Well, this week, Labour doubled down on that position and started publishing videos of immigration raids to show how tough they were and how tough they were being on random non white people in terraced housing who don't look like they're at the top of society and living it large, shall we say.
You're under arrest on suspicion of arranging and facilitating the illegal immigration into the United Kingdom country.
According to the Times, from Monday, the government will release videos of illegal immigrants being detained and deported to convince voters that it's taking action. It comes as voters say Labour's boast of 16,000 deportations is not true because it hasn't appeared in the news. The low information voter is really causing problems for us here, but the Labour Party are causing even more problems because, in addition to this, Labour has shelved its manifesto pledge to make it easier for people to legally change their gender in a bid to counter Reform UK's surge in the polls. Shelved its manifesto pledge. That's a funny way of saying that they lied through their fucking teeth to the LGBT community. Does that work in marriages too? Look, I know I said vows of marriage, but I'm shelving those vows so that me and Steve can go to Las Vegas together. That's how pledges work, right? And what? What? The way that this is being spoken about is like shelving your pledges. They lied. They just lied. Like they've gone back on their pledges at being as generous as you can. They have gone back on their pledges. If we're being honest about it, they lied. They had no intention of keeping those pledges. Did they learn nothing from watching the Democrats as well? It's not just a matter of like morality here. If you let the right wing control the narratives and just copy them every time, you're going to lose because no right winger who thinks immigrants are invading the country is going to vote Reform Light when the full fat version of Reform is sat there smoking a cigar. It's not even as like it's even got as bad as deja vu when I remembered that Kamala Harris was saying that she wouldn't have done anything different to Biden. And I stumbled on this post from 2 months ago. Keir Starmer says there is nothing that he would have done differently as PM over the last 5 months with the benefit of hindsight. Literally the same stuff that Kamala Harris was saying. I wouldn't have done anything differently with the way I've governed. With the way that we've governed, of course, in the case of Kamala Harris. Harry, my question is very simple. Are Labour actually trying to lose the next election? Like, do they actually want Farage to win?
Labour are behaving the way that I sometimes behave when I'm about maybe 10, 11 seasons deep in a football manager save. Where basically what I do is I just start like putting players in different positions. I start trying out custom tactics that I know probably aren't going to work, but I'm bored. And for them, I think basically they got what they wanted, right? They got their moment on the 4th of July, 2024. They all won their seats. They got the ministerial cars. They got the nice houses. They got all the benefits. And then it was like, what do we do now? Oh, wait. Oh, well, let's just take a look at our manifesto. Oh, yeah. No, we're not going to do that. 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 And you're not going to. Right. 5 years is going to be great, isn't it? And this is the thing. This is what they're doing. I mean, they seem to be again looking at what Reform UK is doing, and it's like the reason people are looking to Reform UK is because there's serious economic hardship in this country, and people are angry because the government isn't doing anything about it. So going after immigrants, I mean that's just classic. I mean that's probably the easiest trick in the book. But you could kick out every single immigrant and their firstborn, and bills would still be high, rent would still be extortionate, nothing would improve in this country as a result of it. Perhaps you may feel a little bit better. That might warm your heart, but your house is still going to be cold because you can't afford the heating. And kicking out a bunch of refugees is not going to change that. And what's going to happen is in 5 years' time, when we're on the cups of having a hard right Tory Reform UK coalition government, Reform, no, sorry, Labour, Labour and their supporters are going to turn around to us and say, vote for us to stop, a hard right government. And it's like, well, we've already got one. What would be the difference? What are you gonna do different this time? And then there's a load of promises. The stuff regarding trans rights, I mean, if you look at the polling, the public is very much in support of self ID. When you in term when it comes to, like, legally changing your gender, there is, like, a few percentage points difference, but by and large, the public is very much in favor of it. This is polling from about 2 years ago, so maybe it is different now. When you look at, say, at least half of Britons, according to the YouGov polling I looked at today, said that they recognise transphobia as being a big problem in this country. But what's most important is that two-thirds of Britons have paid little to no attention to the whole trans rights debate because it's almost like there are bigger issues going on at the moment. And, I think the fact that Labour is shelving these bans, you're right, Cog. They had no intention of actually making it easier for people to to change their gender. But I think it's really insulting to people that they think are going to vote reform, like that they actually really sort of this is an issue that really grinds them. For some of them, maybe that will be the case, but actually, when you look at the real big issues in this country, self ID is not on there. It doesn't even register, not even in because it's almost like it's just something that the Westminster media bubble focus on an unhealthy amount, and they just need to get a life because they're weird. It's just weird. Like,
Yeah,
the
it's
line.
obsessive.
Yeah,
It is. Like, but on the other hand, Harry, like, Keir Starmer has 5 missions or 5 pledges, 5 what 5 steps, 5 first steps, 5 yeah, 5 pillars, 5 like, yeah, 5
I
potholes.
think he's
I
lost about 5. I mean, he's probably lost all 5 of them. He's going to start again. He'll have a rebrand. I mean,
yeah,
it's just get over Keir.
every other week.
I know.
Every other week
This
they
is
have
why
a rebrand.
I got booed in my comments saying that I thought Keir Starmer was going to be gone as prime minister by the end of this year. But I'm sticking with my guns, and I look forward to everyone's apologies come December. Um, you know, but I think this is the thing. I mean, you know, no one these things that they're focusing on, they're not actually going to improve things. I mean, the fact that Reform UK is to the left of Labour when it comes to water nationalisation should tell you everything about this party. That they really do not have a clue. There is no clear vision, and hopefully that changes. Because I don't like the idea of come 2029 us potentially having a hard right Tory Reform UK coalition government. But I mean, this Labour government at the moment, I'm sure they're not going to be as bad as potentially what is going to come. But they're not. There's no enthusiasm, and this was the thing. I've said this consistently. There was no real enthusiasm for this government. So really, they kind of had. They, you could say they had nothing to lose, but clearly they're trying to put that to the test because clearly there is a lot to lose. Their seats. And you would hope that these people who are incredibly motivated by self interest would recognize that they want to keep those privileges that they've fought very hard for their entire lives to get.
If the polling since that poll in 2018 or whenever it was taken has changed, um, if the polling has changed, um, I would say that only solidifies the argument that you have to actually argue for your positions. You can't do this thing where you just like, oh, so most people are against trans rights. Well, I'll just be against trans rights too. You actually have to like force a position. The right wing understand this.
40, 50 years' time, we'll probably look back on in disgust at how our politicians spoke about 0.5% of the population. But because it was a good way of getting themselves out there, that's what they did. It is insane to me. But then it's also not insane to me because you know this is what Labour is now. This is why I have no qualms about not voting for them last year. I have no qualms about never voting for them again, as long as they continue stunts like this. Um, and again with the WhatsApp messages that got revealed last weekend, I saw some quote tweets saying, "Well done, Andrew. You're distracting from all the good things that Labour are doing." Could we hear some of those, please? The only thing I could really name is pissing off Jeremy Clarkson, but that's one guy, and it's that's literally it. That's probably the only thing I can think of. So yeah, I know.
It's also remarkable just how Trumpian this is. Like, this isn't even like, like the Conservatives did do a little bit of this sort of thing, but publishing a video, what was it, every day or every week? They're going to be publishing a video about.
Yeah, but I mean, people
Um,
forget like the Tory party. They
insane.
literally during the campaign, during the election campaign, they posted an attack ad of people laying out red carpet on the beaches of Dover, saying that Labour was going to allow all these people to come in, and Labour were clearly like, well, no, we're not. And these deportation rates, if they're going to do these videos throughout, they need to change it up. So actually include the screaming, the shouting, the separation of parents from their children that's going to be happening, the raids that are happening on business places of work. They should be showing the employers who are exploiting those people, because we shouldn't be using those businesses, and we deserve to know. It's all well and good, having it's basically it's the 3-minute hate, right? It's the hate that's been directed towards these incredibly vulnerable people, but actually show the exploiters as well, show the employers. We deserve to know who these people are. And if they don't, I mean, well, that tells you everything you need to know.
Support independent media, support social justice that's there on social media. Thank you. Turn left.